Hello, I'm back. I coughed right at the beginning of the stream. I know I've lost viewers. I'll wait for a second to get those viewers back, maybe. But I wanted to create different streams because they save as different VODs, and I want to be able to download those VODs without cutting them up in an editing suite. This is just a little simpler for me. Get some water, gotta stay hydrated because I will be talking a lot today. I'm going to be recording these two tutorials to finish up the platformer tutorial. Then I want to record a tutorial to use editing software called Kden Live, which is open source free editing, video editing software, which I will do later, but I wanted to do these tutorials first and finally finish this series. I might need to go get my wrist brace because my wrist is bothering me. So give me a second. I will go grab my wrist brace. I am back. I don't know why, but my like thumb muscles were like twitching. Alrighty, alrighty. I haven't used this wrist brace while I worked before. This is the wrist brace I use when I sleep. Excuse me. All right, we're going to get on to our final menus and finishing off this tutorial. Because after you've designed the primary mechanics of your game, there's still a whole lot of work that goes into menus and settings and all of that work. I find designing the mechanics of the game usually takes about 20% of the work, and then the other 80% is polish and game design, just building out your game and menus and settings. That is the majority of the work. And that's reflected a little bit in this tutorial series because we do have these two videos about a title menu and now adjusting settings in an accessibility menu and a button menu and a difficulty adjustment settings. So I am actually a video game accessibility researcher as part of my job as a professor. And my hot take, and I've written and published about this, is that all game designers need to start thinking about accessibility at the start of their game projects. And as you start thinking about game accessibility, there's 4 things you should start with before you think of anything else. And these are the 4: input remapping, visual clarity, subtitles for spoken language, and variable or adjustable difficulty. Now, the subtitles for spoken language, that's already taken care of. We do not have any spoken language in this game. But we need to add input remapping, visual clarity, and adjustable difficulty. So let's start by creating a settings menu screen and a button to get us there and back. So let's create a new room called R settings. Set the dimensions to be 960 by 540, like our other rooms. Be sure to create an effects layer called glow. Add it and glow, there we go. And if you don't remember what these settings were, you can look them up in your other rooms, but they were 30, 3, and 0.3. I'm also going to add an instances layer for our fades called player layer. Now clicking on this tab to open up this creation code. In the creation code for our settings, write instance create layer 00 player layer O screen filter. Oh, the comma. O screen filter. So we get the screen filter effect. And then also add a fade in. Now we can go to objects and O button start. You can duplicate O button start and call it O button settings. You can open O button settings and we can now customize it. But before I customize it, let's just actually add it really quick to our title screen. So open up our title player layer, drag it in. I'm going to move the delete save button down there. There we go. So we've added it. Now we can customize it. So first we can keep the sound effect, but let's change this other thing to be fade out our settings 0 0 for X and Y because we do not have an O player object. And then the text we can write settings. We've added it to our title room and we can test it out now. So it should fade out to our settings menu, but we don't have anything there, so it's still black, but there's no bugs. That's all that matters for now. Now to get back to the title room, let's make another button. We're going to duplicate O button settings. I just do it by hitting Control D or Command D. And this will be called O button title, meaning it'll take us to the title screen. I'm going to open up our settings and bring it right in already in the player layer. So O button title, I will put right there, doesn't matter where. And now we can customize it. You can write in the text back to /n for new line, title, back to title. And then I'm going to keep the sound effect, but write save game to save the settings, whatever we adjust in the settings menu, and fade out our title 0 0. Test it out. Go to settings, back to title. We have a save game because it's saved. So now that we have a settings menu, let's open our initialize script and add some variables for settings. Settings, I'm adding a new comment, settings and accessibility. Global dot normal damage equals true. That's for invincibility. I don't know if I spelled that correctly. And then global dot normal hover equals true. And this is for a setting that will allow us to fly and hover forever. All right, if false, invincibility. If false, fly and hover forever. Now in the O player step event, in the health region, minimize these other regions. In the health region, we can add a condition where it says O place meeting bad. We can add and global dot normal damage. That means it'll ignore this if this gets turned to false. To test this, just open our initialize script and change it to false, so that when we touch hazards, nothing should happen. Yep. Our character's now invincible, but when we set this to back to true. And touch a hazard, we take damage. So we change it back to true before moving on. And now for infinite flight, I'm just going to go ahead and preemptively change this to false for testing. Normal hover to false. We can go to the vertical movement section. And we're going to find our hover stuff. Initiate hover is the subsection. And we're going to just add one line. VSP plus equals hover lift. And here where it says hover cooldown minus minus, we can just write if global dot normal hover is true, open curly bracket, close curly bracket, do this. This means if this is false, this will just get ignored. Now we've already changed it to false, so we should have infinite flying or hovering already in the game. Yep. Which I gotta say, pretty fun. Even though gravity is pretty heavy. So the systems are working. I'm gonna go back to initialize and be sure to change this back to true before moving on. Now the systems are working. We need to add buttons to our settings room that can toggle these settings. So we're going to duplicate O button start again and call this O button damage. Duplicate that. Call it O button hover. In O button damage, we're going to write a lot of stuff in this create event. First, we're going to change, I'm going to move this text up here. Actually, leave the text down there, sorry. But up here I will write text underscore on equals damage /n on. Text underscore off equals damage /n off. Function. Delete this fade out, keep the sound effect. If global dot normal damage is true, else, then we'll keep the sound effect. If normal damage is true, global dot normal damage equals false. If it's false, set it to be global dot normal damage equals true. So it just toggles. And then we'll also change the text. Text equals text off. Text equals text on. And then down here, we can just write another condition. If global dot normal damage is true, I'll just copy and paste this. Text equals text on, else text equals text off. Now we've created this button. We need to move it to our settings room. Settings room. Move this here. O button damage. Put it just there, I guess. So let's test it out. Settings. Damage off. If I go back there, it should still say damage off. It does. And damage is off. Now I've preemptively duplicated O button damage and created O button hover. I think that was a mistake because I've done a lot of work that I can just very easily edit in O button damage. So I'm going to delete the O button hover and now duplicate O button damage now that we've made all those adjustments and call it O button hover, because you will notice that a lot of this code we can just reuse in our create event. Text on, instead of damage on, we will write fly limit on and off. Instead of normal damage, we'll just change it to normal hover. Normal hover. Normal hover. And normal hover. We can place that in our settings. Player layer, O button hover. Fly limit on, damage on. Let's turn fly limit off. And it is working. And if I can hit escape and go to settings and change fly limit to on, fly limit is no longer on. We need to adjust the save game and load game scripts for these new settings. Very easy to do. Just open our save game script, and I will copy this, but change the section name to settings, change the key to be damage, and then change the variable to global.normal damage. You can copy this and paste it, change damage to hover, and change damage to hover. Similarly, in the load game script, I'm going to copy this and change this to be global.normal damage equals, change this to settings, change this to damage, and change the default value to true. Copy that, paste it, change damage to hover, change damage to hover, and keep it at true. So now it'll be part of our save game, so that if I go here and turn these to off and close the game, I should be able to open it up, go to settings, and see that they are still off. It is saving and loading normally. Now we're going to add another button to our settings room to toggle the visual effects or screen effects on and off. We start by going to the initialize script under settings and accessibility, writing global.normal screen equals true. If false, screen effects off. And preemptively, let's go to our save game script, copy this, settings, let's call this screen, normal screen, and then open our load game script and also preemptively add normal screen, settings, screen, and then true is still the default value. Now open up our objects and duplicate O button damage again and call this O button screen. right away, so you don't forget, open up our settings and in the player layer add O button screen. Now we can customize it. Create event. Damage on. Okay, so I'll say screen effect on, effect off. Change this to screen. So it's screen effect on, screen effect off. And then change all these damages to screen. In fact, I'm going to copy the word screen. Screen, screen, screen. And we need to add, actually, reopen that up. We need to add something to this function where after it sets this global variable, we can set the glow effects layer to be visible or invisible. And we use the function layer set visible. The name of the layer is glow. And whether we want to set it to be true or false, we just set it to be whatever this variable is. Global.normal screen. And then we need to add some things to our title screen and room code. So open our title screen creation code. And then write layer set visible glow global.normal normal screen. Copy that and go to our room code script. Can't see, there we go. Ooh, room code. And we should also add it to the creation code of our settings. I forgot about that. So we're adding this to the creation code of our title, our settings, and then to our room code script so it gets to the levels. So let's go over here, settings, screen effect on. Okay, there's one more thing we need to do though. Is in the OScreen filter object, which is down here, in the draw GUI end event, we're going to wrap all of this in the condition if global.normal screen is true, do all of this. But if it's false, it'll just ignore it. And this is for the little dots, you know, the little dot filter. Go to settings. So it not only turns off the glow, it now turns off the little dots. Yep, that's working. All right, to finish off the settings menu, we'll add a very simple button remapping system. It's not the button remapping system I use in the games that I plan on selling or publishing on Steam. This is much, much, much simpler, but you should still get practice with it. So we're going to set up all of the global variables we need for button remapping. And we're also going to adjust our save game and load game scripts. So first, let's start by opening up our initialize script and declaring some global variables. Add a new comment, button remapping, global dot detecting input equals false, global dot key right equals vk right, global dot key left equals vk left, global dot key jump equals vk space, global dot key return equals vk escape. And now we have these global variables that we can change, and we can change what keyboard buttons do get stored in these variables. But preemptively, let's change our save game and load game scripts right up front so we don't forget to do it. In the save game script, add ini write real. Inputs is the name of the section. Call this one write global.keyWrite. Now let's copy and paste this a few times. Right, left, jump, return. Left, jump, return. I accidentally deleted a parentheses there. Change this also. Left, jump, oh, return. Oh, I accidentally hit the insert key, which messes up writing. There we go. Left, jump, return. Left, jump, return. Okay. And now in the load game script, do something similar. Actually, I'll just write it new. Global dot keyWrite equals ini read real inputs write, and the default value will be global dot key left. Oh, actually, no, that's a global variable. So the default value would be vk write. There we go. Let's copy this, paste it, right, left, jump, return. So this will be left, this will be left, this will be left, this will be jump. In fact, I'm going to copy that word so I don't have to rewrite it. Jump, space is our jump key, and this will be key return, return, and then that's the escape key, vk escape. And then in our oPlayer step event, in the input section, we will change these to those global variables. Global.keyLeft. Just copying global.key underscore, make it as more quick. Global.keyWrite. Global.keyJump. Global.keyJump again. And then global.keyReturn. Now, when we run the game, everything should work normally. I can move left and right, I can jump, I can escape out here, very good. Everything's working normally. So now we're going to use a script that will be able to translate keys like vk underscore space into a string like spacebar, so that players will be able to read what buttons they've assigned to what actions. Now, I have that script ready for you. It's in the game assets folder that you download that has all the sounds and the images for the game. And you can just open that text file and paste it into a script. So first, find that file. So it's in the assets here, and it is called script key check. So it should be under S. There we go, script key check. Open that up, and it's a lot of text. Just hit Command A or Control A to highlight it all, and then Command or Control C to copy it. And then in Gamemaker, create a new script called key check, one word key check. And as you can see, you've actually copied everything. So you can delete everything in this and just paste it all. So when you paste it, it's the entire script that you need. And I believe nothing is missing. If it is, we'll get a bug and we can see what is wrong or not wrong. I think these parameters are throwing it off, so I'm removing those parameters up top. Yeah, there's something about the updated Gamemaker that the way those parameters are formatted, it just doesn't work. Okay, so we've copied all that. Great. Now we're going to create a new sprite for bigger buttons, because for these button remapping buttons, we need more room for text. So create a new sprite, call this S button remap, and import the appropriate sprites, S button remap 0, S button remap 1, open. The origin, middle center, FPS 0. Go back to objects and duplicate O button start and call it O button jump. And change its sprite from S button to S button remap, so it's a bigger sprite. In the create event, we are going to write, let me change my notes, a lot of stuff here. So up here, I'm going to write text input equals jump colon /n for a new line, and then close the quote mark, and then semicolon. Text key equals key check, that new script that we created, global dot key jump. So again, this will take like a key like VK space and it'll return text like spacebar. Text detecting equals press any /n key, press any key. And then detecting my input, all with underscores for spaces. Detecting my input equals false. Now in this function, once again, I'll remove that fade out script, keep the sound effect. Actually, we'll re-add that sound effect in a moment. But in button action, we'll write if bang global dot detecting input. So if global dot detecting input is false, I'll add a comment, start detecting input. Detecting my input equals true. Global dot detecting input equals true. And then I will cut and paste that sound effect in here, because basically if this is true, if global.detecting input is true, I don't want the button to do anything, because that means another button is currently being reassigned. So I don't want any of the other remap buttons to do anything if another button is being reassigned. So that's why I have that. And then here for text, you can change this to text input plus text key. So we actually need to add some stuff to this button step event. Our default button system doesn't work entirely. So we're going to right click on step event and click inherit event. And then after the event inherited function, we're going to add a section at the very end of the step event called button remapping. If detecting my input is true, hover is false, hover equals false, image index equals 1, text equals text detecting, And then if keyboard key does not equal 0, meaning a keyboard key has been pressed, audio play sound SND shoot, priority of 1 doesn't loop, so set that to false. Global dot key jump equals keyboard key. Add a comment, update key. Text key equals key check, that script we made. Global dot key jump. Update button text. Text equals text input plus text key. That's just updating what we show on the button for the button text. Global dot detecting input is set back to false. Let other remapping happen. And then detecting my input equals false. And this button's detection. I know that was a lot, but if no other button is being remapped and we click on this remapping button, it'll set detecting my input to true. And then when this detecting my input is true, it'll change the look of the button. So hover is false, image index equals 1. So it looks a little different. The text will be changed to text detecting, which is press any key. And then it waits for any keyboard key to be pressed. And the moment a keyboard key is pressed, it plays a sound effect. It reassigns the key to whatever keyboard key is pressed. It updates text key. It updates the button text to include the updated text key. It sets global.detecting input to false, and then sets detecting my input to false. So to see how this works, let's simply open settings in the player layer, add O button jump. In fact, I'm going to change the grid to 10 by 10 so I have a lot of space to work with. More space to work with. So if I go to settings, right now it says my jump key is spacebar. If I click that, oh, there's a bug. There's a bug. Okay. We have to find that bug now. We have to find that bug. It might be here. Let me look at my notes. Make sure global.detecting input is false. Start detecting input. Detecting my input equals true. Global.detecting input equals true. Audio, play sound, SND, explode, 1, false, right? And make sure, I'm going to go to initialize and make sure that everything is declared false. Detecting input is false. Okay, that's correct. You got to be able to debug your own games. So I like that. I like when you get to see how I debug my own projects. When I go here, only want to do this if it's false, so this gets set to true. Audio play sound. I haven't changed any code, so the bug would still be there. Good thing I plan on re-editing these, because if this debugging process goes too long, I can always just edit out the wait or make it go by faster. I want to make sure it's not a typo. Detecting my input. Detecting my input. That's correct. It's set as false. And this is a button check issue. It's It's like a hovering issue. Oh, it's like a hovering issue. Okay. It could be. See if I remove this sound. It's still playing that sound. Ah, okay, okay. Okay, so I've removed all of our sounds here. So let's open up O button and see what I've changed. There's no audio playing there. I might need to. I want to stay on stream during all this because I think it's really interesting to have y'all see I've removed all the sound code and it's still playing sounds, right? That's wild. Sets it to true, sets it to true. It'd be so nice if I had an error that crashed the game. It's detecting. It's something with hovering, and it's the button reassigning is working. I'm now using the E button and it's hovering. All right, so let's try to find. So everything here is working, right? That's all working. But there should not be any button jump. This is O button jump, it's bigger. There should not be any sounds. Okay. Oh, there is a sound here. Audio play sound shoot, right? Hover equals true. Button action. Okay, so if I remove this sound, I think this is where the issue is coming from. Yep. So I think the hover is getting turned true and false. Yeah, button action. I wonder if... Yeah. So let's make this audio, turn this audio back on. And if detecting my input is being set to false, and then when this is false, it's playing the sound again, right? So I might remove this. Oh, I hit the debug mode on accident. The debugger. Don't need that. Go to settings. Now it's working. Now it's working normally, except now it's still doing hover. So I want to be able to fix that really quick so that it no longer changes. Right? Or I could just leave that be. I kind of want it so it stops the hovering effect. So I think all I would have to do is an O button change this. Change the order of things. True. It might not be worth my time right now, honestly, for the sake of the tutorial. I found a bug. I'm going to add it to my notes for next time I revise this. Maybe I'll figure it out after I end the video and then I can edit it in, but I just don't think that's going to be worth my time. So I'm just going to go to my notes and change this, remove this from the step event there. Oh, hold on. I think I found the thing. Oh, yes. I misread my notes. My notes had it correct. Is that keep the hover to be true and everything works normally. Just misread my notes. Because, yeah, we want to keep it looking like it's being hovered. And that solves all the other issues. Yeah. Press any key. G. Yep, that was it. I need to just change this false to true because that's the only way my system works. That's on me. Well, I will be able to edit this edit out the wait, but maybe still show parts of it in the final video when I post it to my primary videos. So it's all working, and to make the remaining remapping buttons, it's just a lot of duplicating. So we just go to O button jump, duplicate it, call it O button left. Duplicate that, O button return. Duplicate that, O button right. And we're just going to change their code as required. Let's go to the create event of O button left, change it from jump to left, change it from key jump to key left. But all this stays the same. Open up the step event, change it from key jump to key left, key jump to key left. Then open up O button return, create event, change this to return. Yeah. Menu. Call it the menu button. Key return. And then everything else stays the same. Step event. Key return. Key return. And then lastly, O button right. Change this to right. Key right. Step event. Key right. Key right. Now we can go into our settings, player layer. So we already have jump. Let's add left. Put them over here. Maybe. Yeah, I just want to make sure this sort of lines up. So I have jump, left, right, and return. Let's run the game, see if it works. So I'm going to change, we know that's working, so I'm going to leave that the same left. I'm going to change it to A, right, I'm going to change it to D. Escape, I'm going to change it to backspace. Click this. Yep, A and D, and then backspace takes us back. We reset the game. This is all back to the defaults. We also, just as a little bit of housekeeping, we need to make sure that the global variable global.detecting inputs gets turned off if the player leaves this menu while in the middle of remapping one of their buttons. It's just a way to avoid some bugs. So in O button title, the button we use to get back to the title screen, in the create event where we fade out to our title, we can just also add global.detecting input equals false. And then lastly, we can change the text of signs so that they update with the buttons. Because right now, when you look at our signs, it says left key and right key to roll, but we can change what those keys are. So it needs to update those signs too. But it's very, very easy. Just go to our level 1 and whichever checkpoints have our signs. Go to the first checkpoint, creation code, where it says left key and right key to roll. Just simply change this to use space plus end quote mark plus key check global dot key right plus open quote mark /n for new line and space close quote mark plus key check global dot key left plus quote mark /n to move period close quote mark semicolon. So now it's going to use that key check script. So right now it says use right arrow and left arrow to move. Oh, I'm missing a space between the to and the move. Let's add that again. But now if we change what those buttons are, it's going to use this script that we've added to change the names. So if I change this to A and change this to D and go to start the game, use D and A to move. If I go back and change it again, left and right. Right arrow and left arrow to move. You can do this to all your signs, actually. Just knowing that you can merge variables that store strings with fully typed out strings just by adding a plus, and be sure to add appropriate spacing as needed. But you can do that to all of your signs. And then that's it. You're done. That's all I have to teach you for this tutorial. Hopefully you can start designing some levels, even adding some mechanics. There was a mechanic I added when I was designing this game that I thought it would be fun if people figured out how to add it themselves. So if you want sort of a stretch goal or a way to practice, I want to encourage you to try to add a mechanic where you have boxes that act as crates, wooden crates that can catch fire and explode and spread fires. And then if you want to push it even further, you can add crates when stacked on top of each other. If something below it catches on fire and explodes, everything sort of falls down and has gravity. And I think that'd be a really cool game to explore. If you're willing to change all the art assets in the music and tweak the mechanics and build off of this, you can turn this into your own game. Please credit me with the base idea of the game for sure. And good luck with your game making experiences. That's it for now. Bye-bye.